Let us begin.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to open the conditional use application regarding 5 Landillo Road in Havertown. There are two folio numbers, 2202-0065000 and 2202-00709-00. I believe this was properly advertised for the October 7th board work session, at which time the record was opened and a continuance was granted. Mr. Mattson had sent in a continuance request, and at the public hearing on October 7th, we announced that the hearing would be continued at tonight's November 12th hearing. Mr. Mattson is here representing the applicant, CareLink Community Sport Services, Inc., and I would turn it over to Mr. Mattson.
Thank you, ma'am. Before I begin, members of the commissioners, I prepared a brief memorandum for all of you to take a look at.
Okay, you can just hand it to Bill. He'll pass it this way. Commissioner Wexler, excuse me.
Thank you. And if I may begin?
Yes.
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Mattson. That's M-A-T-T-S-O-N for the record. I'm an attorney here in Havertown. I'm representing the applicant, CareLink Community Services, Support Services, Inc., excuse me, a mental health care agency presently with administrative offices located in Eddystone, Pennsylvania. CareLink is a mental health institution and agency whose mission is to serve individuals with mental health issues who need specialized supports to achieve wellness, recovery, and self-determination. They desire to relocate from Eddystone, Pennsylvania to the location in Havertown, mainly for financial reasons because they're going to be able to own the property rather than rent it, and it's going to be able to free up more funds for them to be able to service their clients and their personnel. We initially filed a conditional use application under Ordinance 182-602, which allows a conditional use for a mental health care agency to use a facility, a mental health care facility, to use this facility in this INS institutional district. The initial application asked to use it for administrative purposes as well as what we call related services, which would be services that would be rendered to individuals with mental health issues, such as rehabilitation services, vocational services, and counseling. We had a meeting before the Planning Commission as is required by your ordinance on July 25th, 2013. There was significant pushback from the community, as I'm sure you've heard. At that meeting, this room was jammed, more jammed than it is tonight. That hearing went on for a significant period of time, and the residents who came did get to voice numerous concerns about the proposed use. As a result of that, the applicant requested to reduce the usage from administrative offices and related services merely to administrative offices and administrative use. That application was made on the record at the second Planning Commission hearing on August 22nd, 2013. It was also made in writing to Mrs. Widup by a letter, and it was also made, put into the record before the Planning Commission. Both of those hearings before the Planning Commission were stenographically recorded, and I would request that the notes of testimony from those two hearings be incorporated into this record.
Go ahead.
Okay. On August 23rd, 2013, I received a letter from Haverford Township advising that the Planning Commission approved a motion and passed a motion recommending that the amended conditional use application be approved subject to 19 conditions, and that's attached at the back of your memorandum. I do not know if the solicitor has reviewed that with you. I sat down with the solicitor, Mr. Byrne, on October the 11th to discuss these conditions. And of the 19 conditions, my client has some issues with 4 of the conditions. And I'd like to review them with you tonight, if I may. I have them outlined on the memorandum I gave to you beginning on page 3. The first condition was that the general hours of operation shall be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we weren't really sure what they meant by that. we weren't sure they meant that we had to actually close those doors at 5 p.m. on those days. Now, there are times when the individuals in this operation have to work overtime. There are times when we're having board of directors meetings there in the evening. Not everybody goes home on the blow of the whistle 5 o'clock like most businesses. So we do generally operate from 8 to 5, but we want to make sure that if we're in there at the building after 5 o'clock, that we're not in violation of some representation that we made to the Planning Commission, where we did tell them that we would be having people working late at times. We do understand that they do want us out of there by 9 o'clock at night, and that generally is not a problem with the applicant. The other condition that we had some issues with condition number 5, was only one extracurricular event could occur during the week, and these involve training of staff, board meetings, and things of that nature. These are part of what we do for administrative purposes. CareLink is not just located in Eddystone, Pennsylvania. It's located throughout the county. It provides services in many, many portions of the county, and we have to have staff in those places to provide the services as required by law and provide them professionally as required by federal law. So we need to train these people. And training takes place mainly during the day, but sometimes that has to run, later in the day, and sometimes it has to be scheduled more than once a week. So it's like if I'm running a pizza shop and you're going to ask me how many pizzas I can make on Wednesday, I just don't know. I can't tell you at that point. It's not going to be every night, and there might be some weeks when there's nothing there. But to limit us to one a week is certainly severely interfering with our administrative purposes.
Mr. Mattson?
Yes.
Mr. President, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Mattson, did the Planning Commission, did they express to you what their concern was about the idea of an extracurricular event? I mean, did they have something in mind different from what you're
Yeah,
talking
Mr.
about?
Holmes, I think what happened at the first hearing, and again, you had to remember that the emotions were running pretty high in both these hearings, and it was pretty tense. So at the first hearing, part of our plan was to, have meetings of, we're going to call them clients coming in there, having what they call potluck dinners and things of that nature. I think that's what they may have been concerned about. But everything that we're doing here in terms of staff training and board meetings that's what businesses do. They run their businesses that way. I don't close my business every day at 5 o'clock. So, we just want to make sure that if we're in that building after 5 o'clock, not opening the doors and having people coming in, that's not going to be something that's going to upset the residents and upset the township.
I mean, to the extent that anybody would have thought that you, by extracurricular event, you meant like a field trip for your clients or
No.
something like that.
No.
What you're really talking about is conducting on-site training for your existing employees.
I think they addressed that in condition number 6. If you look at it, they basically say, under no condition shall client-related activities, et cetera, and so forth, be permitted anywhere on the property. We wanted that initially, but then we amended that and said, okay, well, that's fine, we'll just stay administrative. So as long as we're doing administrative work there and not field trips and whatever else, I mean, we just don't want any problems with the neighbors or problems with the township.
Is extracurricular a word you guys used in
No,
your
they used-
presentation?
they
Okay.
used it.
All right.
They use it. And so I discussed that with Mr. Byrne, and he was confused as to what extracurricular was as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, because that doesn't really,
Outline.
that's not really.
We don't have a football team, okay?
Yeah, extracurricular activity or extracurricular event, and then it has training and board meetings, et cetera. That's kind of, it's vague.
Right.
Yes, and that was our concern, that it's vague, and we want to make sure that, we're allowed to do what we do. We're allowed to do our administration there, and that might involve more than one of these activities per week.
But will it involve
Yeah, but
having
what
any
are the activities?
patients there during
No, we're not involving patients there. We specifically said we will not have patients there, or clients, whatever you want to call them.
future clients?
No. No. This is solely related to the administration of the facility.
Yeah, just your administrative staff.
That's correct. And the board of directors and yeah, maybe not the administrative staff, but some other staff members who are employees who have to come in and get trained.
Right.
I'm sorry. Can that be, that's just not clear to me. It says extracurricular event such as training and board meetings, et cetera.
Well, these are the recommendations of the Planning Commission, and I think what Mr. Mattson is asking this board to consider in this
Leave from
application
that.
is to alter that so that it is clear, like that they can have perhaps more than one training event in a week, or a board meeting in a week, or bring employees from another.
Mr. Leader, this is my client. This is Eileen Joseph, who's the
You're
CEO.
not understanding what I'm saying.
Okay, I don't think I am.
I know what you're saying. You're saying that they want to have multiple activities in a week, if possible. I want to know what those activities are. I want to know if you're training there, what is happening, and what are you calling an extracurricular activity? I want that defined.
Again, I'm not calling it extracurricular.
anything.
The planning commission called it
Planning
that,
commission.
okay?
I want you to tell me what you think extracurricular activity means and what these events are that you want.
I'm going to ask Eileen Joseph to tell you that. She's the CEO. She gave testimony at the hearings, and she can better tell you exactly what she wants there. Eileen?
Needs to be sworn in.
The word extracurricular
Mr. President?
is an inappropriate word.
I believe she needs to be sworn.
Okay, swear in. Yep.
I do.
Thank you, Dan.
Eileen Joseph, President and CEO, Carolyn Community Support Services. The word extracurricular is an inappropriate word to have been used in that document. Administrative services, our administrative services, include the training of staff, the orientation of new employees, committee meetings. We have numerous personnel committees. We have risk management committees. We have training committees. We have a board of directors. We have subcommittees of the board of directors, a development committee, a finance committee, an audit committee. So all of those are not extracurricular. They are, in fact, the administrative services of Carolyn Community Support Services. So we weren't talking about anything extracurricular. We were talking about the business. That's the business. In addition to our ongoing finance, personnel, training, maintenance, management, that's what administrative services are. So none of that is extracurricular. That is administration.
Right.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, that's very helpful.
Okay, I mean, that's about the best I can say. Ladies and gentlemen, have you seen the site plan? Have you been had a chance to see the site plan for the property?
I have not seen your site plan, but I have been to that
Okay.
place many times.
Could I have you set up that site plan up so they could see this? Because I have to explain this next condition, but you have to see the plan.
No, I got it. It's the walkway. Possible to put it up?
Okay. Okay. I guess these are copies of it?
These are all B1, yeah. Share one? Those guys share one. I don't think there's enough for everybody. You guys share one. You want, I can share
I got
one.
a pretty good idea
You
what
wanna
they're
share
talking
one?
about without seeing it.
So, this is Lansdale. This is Landilla, this is Darby.
I'll share it with Bill.
There's the walkway.
Thank you.
And upside down.
Okay, thanks. It was.
Yeah. Go ahead. So where's the walkway you were talking about?
Yeah, the new 4-foot wide concrete walkway.
That's a walkway that comes from Lansdowne Road all the way down here. You can see it on the plan. That's non-existent now. That's basically a parking lot now.
Yes.
Right? So that was proposed by the architect as an accommodation to the residents if they wanted to use that walkway to access the playground back here without having to walk across the driveway. But that wasn't something that, he just put that up, we could have just left it as the driveway. There's already a fence that goes back this way, okay? There's a little gate to it, okay? And this is all the driveway, so we wanted to get a walkway there to keep that view off the driveway, you get a little bit safer. Right here, there's already a fence here. Between the residents and the parking lot. Basically, my clients wouldn't put a lot of money into this project. We think that's a little bit of an overkill. So, if they want, we can take this out. We can just take out the walkway there. One of the reasons that's put some kind of handicap access ramp. Like, there's the access or no, the park's
Mr. Matson, the court reporter's having a hard time.
She can't hear you, and I don't think the public can.
I'm trying to show, yeah, I understand.
I understand, but the public needs to hear.
Does he want to take the mic?
Yeah.
Grab the mic. Why don't you at least carry the mic with you?
We can see what you're showing. Just put it up on the easel so the
Okay.
audience can see.
Yeah.
We have it in front of us.
And this isn't a,
Spin it around so the audience can see, please.
and this is not a new plan. This was the plan that was originally submitted when we had the original the application. We don't think we should have to put that fence up there where they indicated it should be, and we're not going to put it come around to the other side of Melwood and put something in on township property. That's owned by the township, that playground. So we just think that's an unreasonable condition.
Mr. Mattson?
Yes.
Again, was there some indication to you as to what they were trying to accomplish? Do you feel that shielding that walkway was, again, a concern about your clients as opposed to your staff?
I think it was concern about the clients and the
Interaction.
interaction,
between the
okay?
clients
And there's not going to be any, quote, clients, or there's not going to be any patients there. It's going to be only staff or a board of directors meeting or new employees being trained. That came out of the clear blue. That wasn't mentioned any time during the hearing. It just came out at the end when they made these recommendations.
I'm not sure that that's the case. If you're walking through that parking lot and there's cars pulling into that parking lot, you may want to have a safe passage.
Well, the architect is going to,
Yeah, a safe passage from Lansdowne Road into the park. You see where, if you're on Lansdowne Road, you have to access this through either Lansdowne or through Moen. Or you can come around the front.
well, you can come around the front because the township has an easement that goes across the front of there.
Right, but if you live on Lansdowne, and you want to walk into here, this would be a safe passage, so if there's cars in the parking lot, you wouldn't.
Yeah, but is a 4-foot PVC fence coated black with privacy screening slats going to protect anybody from a car?
No, I'm just saying the walkway. I'm not aware.
Yeah, your problem isn't the walkway. Your problem is creating a double-sided
The problem is,
cattle chute.
a cattle chute. That's what,
Yeah.
and it's
You
not.
have no problem with the walkway, but
Right,
the
the walkway-
imposition of a plastic, fully opaque fence on one side of it is what you're concerned about here?
We're just concerned about having to put that fence up between the walkway and the parking lot. We don't think we should have to do that because we've already put the walkway in. It's a wide enough that's going to keep you off the parking lot. And we're going to have probably parking bumpers that are going to be back there that's going to keep the cars from coming close to the walkway.
Right, I mean, the whole idea of full privacy screening slats, suggests to me that nobody's concerned about, that's much more about shielding from view as opposed to
Well,
protecting from a car, right?
you're shielded from view on the other side where the residences are. They have privacy slats in there. So that's already shielded. And there's already a fence up there. So the walkway is just as an accommodation for the residents who want to come back and use the playground.
Okay.
And the alternative is we just take it out.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what they were thinking when.
No, I appreciate
the
that.
black
Thank you for
fence.
the
I
info.
can understand the walkway and having parking bumpers there, but
yeah,
that's something.
for safety purposes, but actually
Right,
having
exactly.
privacy between a parking lot and a walkway doesn't make any sense to me, privacy slats, as opposed to the other side with the houses, right?
That's what I-
Yeah, there's a 6 foot? There's a 6-foot fence, right? Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask, whose fence is that? Is that the school district fence? Or
No,
is
right.
Sir, to the extent that people would like to speak, if you could at least give your name to the court reporter before you answer a question from the board.
Yeah, no,
I'll
let's,
direct it over here. Is who,
Yes.
who
Folks, right now,
owns those fences?
everyone has a chance to talk.
Okay, so that cuts that one out.
We can get to it in public comment, perhaps. So, Mr. Masson, your request then is on condition 8, either that condition 8 be deleted or
Yeah,
altered in
the
some way?
condition 8 be deleted. That's what we like to have.
Okay.
And the last one that my client really had a problem was with the traffic study being amended to include an evaluation of the timing of the traffic signal. That's a tremendously expensive undertaking. At the second Planning Commission hearing, we did present evidence as to what the traffic impact would be based upon 15 employees coming on a regular basis. And the traffic impact showed it was nominal at best. I have a copy of that here in my folder if you want to see it, but it was made part of the record at the Planning Commission hearing, and I asked that that be incorporated in this record here tonight. And again, I did review these.
Do you know how many employees the Stratford Friends School had?
Okay, I'm told it was 25. And they also had school buses and parents dropping off kids and things of that nature, which we're not going to have.
Okay. And you anticipate 15 full-time employees, and then, you know, to the extent you've got traffic in and out from...
Right. And there might be people, not employees or staff members from other locations coming during the day to pick up things or drop things off. But it's not going to be the way it was with the Stratford Friends School.
Right.
And the last time, I had some conversation with Mrs. Widup, the last time that these lights were adjusted or even timed was 1999.
That's what I was gonna ask.
And, pardon me?
I was going to ask that. If
Yeah,
you knew
19
if it was changed since Stratford School was there.
Well, I think Stratford School was in there in 1988, and then they did something in 1999 to adjust the traffic flow on Darby Road, but it hasn't been adjusted since then. So, you know, I can't, it's just that 15 employees coming, not all at one time, but at various times in the morning, and leaving at various times at night, according to the traffic impact, the trip generator we submitted, the impact is minimal on the traffic there. We're not going to be parking on street. We have 32 parking spaces, which is going to accommodate plenty. The parking spaces are going to be striped, lined and striped, and sorted out and well-defined.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Sir, Jane Hall,
Yes, Ms.
Third
Hall.
Ward.
Yes.
May I revisit the walkway for a moment? I think the reasoning maybe by the Planning Commission, I'm just guessing, is that since this is a walkway to that park, they're trying to separate the public from that particular space. So and I understand what you're saying, you know, two fences being maybe too much. Have you considered doing any landscaping on either side? Would you consider possibly a hedge or something so that there's some sort of privacy and not maybe that particular look?
There is landscaping requirements in there, okay? Not so much for that walkway, but for screening the parking lot from Lansdowne Road and things of that
Right.
nature. Taking out some macadam and making more pervious as compared to impervious surface,
Right.
which we're willing to do, and spruce the place up a little bit. To put plantings in there, that would be expensive as well, because we're going to have to take macadam or concrete out and put in soil.
I agree, but I think that I can appreciate what you're saying about two fences running parallel and the way that it looks, but I think that it was probably the intention of the planning committee to separate this walkway from your property. And in doing that, they're asking for two fences. I'm not sure that that's, you know, aesthetically pleasing and probably the best thing, but I think that's probably the goal. So if you could do a hedge, it may be as much money, I'm not sure. But I think if you look at it the way that it leads into the park, that probably was what they were thinking.
I had a concern too, where they're saying with the height of the fence, 4 foot at least, and such and so forth. You get a little kid walking in there, you're not
Right.
going to see him.
I agree,
And that's who goes to the playground.
right. So I think maybe if you did a mix, it's just a thought.
Okay?
Thank you.
Well, but
So the
before
concern too would be to
us
do
is
that
a
would be.
request from them
Right, I know.
for relief of a specific condition.
I know
don't
that.
think we can, I mean, I'm not sure, and I'll get advice from our solicitor later, but I'm not sure how much we can mess with the conditions
I know.
as much as we simply say yes or no to them.
Right.
Another concern to that, Ms. Hall, is potentially losing some parking there if we have to do that.
I know.
And
I understand
the parking
that.
isn't the greatest up there, as you well know.
Right.
So the fact that we can get 32 cars on there is a plus.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. President, essentially, that was my presentation here tonight. I said I'll let the notes of the testimony speak for themselves unless you want to have some other testimony either from our architect. He's here to answer questions. I also have Ms. Joseph here to answer questions if you need be, and I believe I have the traffic engineer here in the room if you need to have questions answered.
Do we,
I think the traffic engineer would be interesting
I do too.
to speak for a minute, just so we don't simply take Mr. Mattson's word on the issue about the 15
Okay.
employees.
Okay.
okay.
I guess you want to swear. This is Mr. Martino. You want to be sworn?
You got it. Yeah, you got it. Can you swear him in? I'm sorry. Mrs. Mann, there's two seats over here. Why don't you come and sit down?
Your name, sir?
Good evening. My name is Guy DiMartino with Traffic Planning and Design.
Mr. DiMartino, it's been suggested by Mr. Mattson that the requirement